Choosing between AirPods Pro and regular AirPods might be harder than picking your favorite song. If you don't have somebody like me around to set you straight, that is. Here's the thing. I have been playing around with both the new models of the AirPods, the latest Pros and also just the latest AirPods 4. And I feel like I sort of maybe put out the wrong expectations for myself when I started playing around with the new AirPods that weren't Pros that had noise cancellation. And I thought I would like them. I thought it would be enough noise cancellation, even just working in a home office or something, where it'd be fine. Like I would like it, and because of the smaller case and the smaller size and everything, maybe I would use them more than the Pros. It turns out, no.
Hey, if you don't know about my newsletter, it's free. It comes out on Fridays. It doesn't waste your time, but it fills you in on everything worth knowing about Apple and the tech world, including AI stuff.
There's so much to like about the AirPods 4, and I think there's a reason why my video about these two against each other really did so well. It got hundreds of thousands of views because it's very tempting to spend less to potentially get similar features, even if it's not exactly the same or exactly as good with the Pro over here on the 4s. Like on the comparison website, you gotta really dig through to find out what is different between these two. It's not always apparent. Some things stick out like the battery life, but then there's all these little details. Like, look at this. What does that mean? 2 times more, up to 2 times more active noise cancellation. Without rehashing everything that I went over in my original video over on the flagship channel, Daily Tech 1, all I have to say is that the noise cancellation feels like it might as well be 10 times better, not 2 times better, up to 2 times better. It might as well be like 10 or 20 times better because it's so much better that it's ruined the noise cancellation on the other AirPods. So I've been using these kind of in different parts of the house, and for different activities. There's like the buds that work best for workouts. There's some that are at my desk, so like whatever's around and whatever happened to be in the pocket. I've been using both quite a bit as I go through my daily routine, work and just life. And it turns out the difference is so vast with the noise cancellation on the Pros that I feel like what little noise cancellation there actually is on the regular 4s with ANC, I honestly don't even notice it compared to the Pros. And undoubtedly, some of that is the tech, right? Just the ANC technology itself, of course. But a big part of that is just the noise isolation and the ear tips. That makes a huge difference. And by the time you combine the two, and we could talk about comfort and stuff and all the little nuances that some people prefer or hate, because everyone's ears are actually very different. And whenever Apple goes out and measures a bunch of different ears, they got a lot of employees that they can guinea pig on, right? With the ear scans. But whenever they do that, it still seems like it doesn't always, there's not one model that's gonna fit every ear perfectly. But that's beside the point. Like just from an enjoyability standpoint and the standpoint of being able to block out my noise, there's nothing like the AirPods Pro 2. So I just want to make a video that was a little bit stronger in the recommendation. If you're thinking about getting AirPods, if you can fit it into your budget, go with the Pros any day. It's worth saving up a little bit extra for, worth asking for Christmas, honestly, over the others. Because honestly, with the non-Pros that have a little bit of ANC, there's so much noise leakage that gets in that oftentimes I will hit the stem thinking that I'm activating ANC on the AirPods 4, not the Pros, and I'll be turning it off because my brain was confused. I thought it was off, and I went to turn it on, but I was turning it off. That's how weak it feels in comparison to the Pros. Now, the one caveat might be, if you've never experienced the ANC on better buds like the Pros or maybe some others, right? Beats actually has some pretty good buds for the noise canceling. And there's been a few where I was like, it might be even a little bit better than the Pros. You can go watch my Beats content if you want to learn more about that. But if you never experienced it, then maybe you don't know what you're missing. That might be the one caveat here. And so if you're like, maybe that doesn't matter as much, you just want the convenience and you want something that's really light and you want something that fits in your pocket, then by all means go with the ANC version or the version of the 4s that don't have the ANC. And I think you could still be happy with that direction, especially if your goal is to save some money, right? It's not like they're awful. It's just if you care about the ANC, then you have to go with the Pros.
If you're watching this video and you haven't pre-ordered my course, AI and I, which helps you understand the opportunities and the threats that AI brings to the future and maybe to your job, then you need to pre-order it while it's still on sale. It's linked up down below.
Now, here's the other thing. I'm guessing that a new version of Pros is going to be not too far down the road. In many ways, people were a little bit baffled about what the Pro 2s didn't get when the regular 4s got an update. So I think Apple saved a little space, a little room to bring some wow factor to the next version of the Pros. I'll just put it like that. But what I've really learned here as I've spent some time with both of these is that something either is or it isn't. Something is premium or it is not. And in my original review comparing the new ANC 4s with the actual Pro 2s, I remember saying something similar to, these are Pro-like. There are many Pro-like features, but it either is Pro or it isn't Pro. And in this case, it is not Pro when it comes to the ANC. I actually did some research online too, and I found that some people were having some connectivity issues with the 4s. The reason I did that research was because I was actually having some weird issues with my 4s as well. I was editing some video using those with Final Cut Pro, so it was all Apple stuff, Apple hardware, software, and it was just going wonky. And I thought that my audio was wrong. I thought that something was wrong with the video that I shot, which freaked me out. And then I put in the Pro 2s and tried some other earbuds, and the audio worked fine. And then later, I don't know if I got an update or if I just restarted the computer or something, just enough connections and disconnections between different devices that it reset something, but it was working later. So I don't know, I think just in the reliability department too, and I don't know what you could put that down to, it seems like the Pros actually are more reliable too. So this means we have to revisit whether or not these are good enough for most people, or whether it's really worth springing for the 2s. And this is just a simple matter of what you prioritize, right? There isn't an across-the-board answer. So if you prioritize just something that works, that's from Apple, that plays nice with your ecosystem, that honestly sounds pretty good. Like, the sound is not bad. The instruments, the vocals and stuff, it's still enjoyable. But if you have anything in the background that you want to block out, maybe loud people at work while you're trying to work, if you go to the coffee shop, if you're on an airplane, for instance, then if your priority is the noise canceling, then don't get the regulars with ANC. I think, honestly, it's almost a waste of money, to be honest. So maybe Apple's coming out with some new Pros sometime in the future, but whether you need Pro ANC now in this form factor, not over the ear, or later, my advice to you is to get the Pros, either the current gen or the next gen. Totally worth it. But let me know your thoughts. Have you had any issues with the ANC on the 4s? Do you love the Pros? Why or why not? I know a lot of the debate centers around the ear tips. Do you like those or not? I don't know. I go back and forth on those. But I think if you press me, I would say, yeah, I prefer those on the Pros as well. Have you ever wished that your notifications could be as smart as you? I want to spend a little time talking about what actually is almost my favorite Apple Intelligence feature. It's a very minor thing. A lot of what Apple Intelligence brings to the table feels kind of minor to me at the moment. I hope to see that change. I'd be curious to know if you think it's a big upgrade or a reason to buy any of the Apple devices just for the Apple Intelligence features. The iPad mini, of course, would be the base entry-level way to get in on Apple Intelligence kind of at the moment, but that's neither here nor there. I feel like the reduce interruptions focus mode option is something that's actually made a somewhat meaningful impact on the way that I work. Actually, the way that Apple handles notifications, that priority notifications feature that you can get in at least iOS 18.1, that's pretty cool because it puts on autopilot having to manage who can break in and communicate with you when you're in a do not disturb mode or focus mode and who can't, because I've always hated having to manually manage that. A lot of people, when I talk to different productivity, quote unquote, experts, I've interviewed a lot of people and we've had many conversations just at behind the scenes at Apple events and different places as well. But anybody who's a heavy user of the focus mode feature, we talk about, it's great because it can really help you focus and stay in the flow, but also inevitably you end up missing a really important call or something because you forgot, you scheduled the plumber and they were going to call ahead, and then you activated your do not disturb and your focus mode, and then you missed it and you missed the whole appointment or something. There's always some sort of story like that, and anybody who uses it has something they can relate to. So for anybody with an M series or A17 Pro chip or later, you can take advantage of this reduce interruptions mode, which if you go to your focus modes to activate them and long press, for instance, on your iPhone on the reduce interruptions, then you can say something like for the next hour or until this calendar event ends, if you have a calendar event that you're currently in, or until you leave a location. It's pretty cool because that way you can offload to Apple Intelligence the task of having to parse out and decide, is something important enough to break through or not? Now, the reason that this matters for somebody like me is I'll sit down to record a video like this, and maybe that's a 1.5 hour or 2 hour session, and I can put on completely do not disturb me or a focus mode that has a lot of strength and won't let anything through. But sometimes there is an emergency, or sometimes there is something, like I said, plumber or somebody that does need to break through, and I forgot about it, but I had it on my calendar. Or maybe I had a text message or whatever that Apple was able to read and check out, which is kind of weird, right? This is why Apple has a privacy focus. But I feel a lot more confident when I activate that. And sometimes I do have a priority notification pop in, whether it's from a message or email or whatever. And what does that mean? It basically would be anything that needs my immediate attention. And so far, I feel like it's done a pretty good job of understanding, hey, I'm busy, and if I'm activating this mode, I really don't want anything to break my concentration or to pull me away from that. And I feel like oftentimes it's been a value add. The few instances when it actually has given me a priority notification, I feel like it was worth it and it's done a good job. And this really shouldn't be too hard of a feature to solve. Again, if you're giving Apple access to all your personal private information, the trade-off is that it should be able to actually know more about what you might care about. And the downside would be anything privacy related. Apple has an auditing system and does a lot of stuff locally on device. Nothing is perfect, however, we find out in the real world, but still, this has been very useful.
If you're watching this video and you haven't pre-ordered my course, AI and I, which helps you understand the opportunities and the threats that AI brings to the future and maybe to your job, then you need to pre-order it while it's still on sale. It's linked up down below.
And actually, I think that the priority inbox in Apple's Mail app has also been pretty good at filtering the things that I'm gonna want to care about. If I have a lot of emails, this will float stuff to the top that I'll actually need to check out right away. And so actually, I've switched back to Apple Mail because I'm in and out of there, I feel like once a year or something, trying out a new app that has some flashy new feature or something. But I find my way back always, inevitably. That still hasn't changed. I've flirted around with Hey Mail a little bit, but I don't know, I haven't quite pulled the trigger there yet. Superhuman, no. I've told this story many times, but the onboarding process where you have to have a one-on-one with the founder is like, I don't know, something. I know people love it, and people are like, Chris, it's totally worth it. Do the thing, so you can have it. But here I am back in Apple Mail, and it's features like this that I feel like are good. Not just good enough, but it's valuable. It's free, and so I'm going to stick around, I think, and use it. But I'm curious if you've used this. Number one, do you like it? Number two, does it do a good job identifying stuff that actually needs your immediate attention, or has it messed up at all? Sometimes the summaries are a little bit wonky. I will say that there's a lot of stories about Apple's summaries that make it sound like somebody died or something when somebody just sort of colloquially said something like, oh, it's killing me, and the AI summarized it weird. But let me know what your experience has been and if you found it valuable, because so far I've actually really liked it. And this is my way of saying you should try it out and you should check it out. It's worth checking into because I feel like so far out of the Apple Intelligence features, this might be one of the best things.
Hey, if you don't know about my newsletter, it's free. It comes out on Fridays. It doesn't waste your time, but it fills you in on everything worth knowing about Apple and the tech world, including AI stuff.